Good evening, friends. I'm Mr. Narratory, and I'll be your voice tonight as we ease into rest. If these stories help you unwind, take a moment to like and subscribe. It really supports the channel. And I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. Now, get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, because it's time for tonight's story. This one's mine. It's not fiction. It's not a script. I don't usually talk about it, but lately I've been dreaming of the knocking again. The door in the field, so here it is. I inherited the property from someone I never met. An uncle-great-uncle, technically, but nobody in my family ever spoke about him. I didn't even know he existed until the lawyer called. Said the man left me everything. A house, some land, 45 acres of pasture and woods in the middle of nowhere. I was told if I wanted it, all I had to do was sign. No catch. Just an old man with no living relatives except me. I wasn't doing great at the time. Burnt out, numb. So I signed, got in the car, and drove out of the city. 5 hours of highway, 2 more of cracked rural roads. No cell reception, no street lights. The town barely existed on the map. When I pulled into the gravel drive, I expected a wreck, but the house was standing clean. The paint looked recent. The porch was intact, windows unbroken. The wind was dead still. No cars, no other homes in sight. Just grass, fence, and trees. I unlocked the front door with the key they mailed me. It opened like it had been used the day before. The house was fully furnished. Living room tidy. Kitchen stocked. Not modern, not fancy, but lived in. I checked the fridge. Empty, dry, like someone had wiped it out. Power worked. Water too. Pipes groaned, but nothing burst. Every room had a bed, made. Every closet had clothes, neatly hung, like someone might still be coming back for them. I found 4 locks on the front door, 3 on the back, and every window had a bolt on the inside. That was the first thing that bothered me. The second was the cellar. Not under the house out back, a door in the ground. I didn't see it until the second day. I walked the pasture, followed the fence line. It was tucked away near a dip in the grass. No hill, no shed. Just a heavy wooden door lying flat in the dirt, weathered, cracked. 2 metal hinges and a black iron handle. Someone had nailed it shut. 8 big nails driven deep through the center and carved into the wood, barely legible under the grime, my last name. Not freshly carved. Old, weathered, faded like it had always been there. I crouched beside it, didn't touch it, didn't even breathe too close. And right as I stood to leave, I heard it. One knock from underneath. I didn't run. I wanted to. But something about the knock felt restrained. Not angry, not urgent. Just there, a presence. So I backed away. Slow, careful. I didn't turn my back until I reached the fence. Then I walked. All the way back to the house. Didn't look over my shoulder once. I locked the doors. All of them. Every bolt. Every chain. I sat on the couch until the sun went down. I didn't eat. I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat, listening. But the knock didn't follow me. Not exactly. Around midnight, I finally got up and went upstairs. Picked the smallest bedroom, less space to watch, fewer corners. I lay down fully dressed, didn't even turn off the lamp. I stared at the ceiling for hours. No sleep. Then around 3 a.m., I heard it again. Not in the field this time. Closer. A knock. Soft, 3 taps, coming from the base of the stairs. I froze. I knew the sound of that house already. Every creak, every shift. This was deliberate, measured. I didn't move, just listened. It didn't come again. Nothing walked, nothing called out. Just 3 knocks, and then stillness. I stayed up until daylight, didn't sleep, didn't blink. When the sun came in through the blinds, I felt something release, like pressure. I opened the bedroom door, crept downstairs. Everything looked untouched. I checked the locks, still in place. Checked the floor. No footprints, no scuffs. But the living room rug was crooked. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't walked over it. It looked like someone had stepped on it. Just once. I made coffee, sat at the table, tried to convince myself I dreamed it. Auditory hallucinations, sleep deprivation. The house was old. Houses settle. Floorboards pop. I almost bought into that, until I checked the back porch. There was dirt on the floorboards. Not tracked in mud, not smudges, just a perfect outline. Bare feet pointing inward. I followed them to the back door. The locks were still set, but the chain was hanging, unhooked. I didn't do that. I stood there for a long time, trying to breathe. The air in the kitchen felt thick, warped, like it belonged to somewhere deeper. I stepped back, closed the pantry, shut the door to the basement, not the Solarth basement under the house. I still hadn't opened it. Too dark, too damp. I walked the house again, room by room, talking out loud, not sure why. Maybe I needed to hear my own voice. Maybe I was trying to fill something else's silence. When I reached the attic stairs, I stopped. Something about them felt wrong. They hadn't been opened before. The hatch was hanging. Ladder down, cold air drifting down. I didn't remember pulling it open. I didn't even know how, but it was waiting. Just open enough to tempt. I climbed the first 3 steps, looked up, darkness. Then I heard the knock again, but not from above, from underneath. From the floorboards, beneath my feet. Not wood hitting wood, not a house creaking. This time, it sounded soft, like a hand, like skin. I backed down the steps, closed the hatch, latched it. I didn't go back up. That night, I didn't sleep either. I sat in the hallway with the lights on. I read one of the old letters I found in the den, written in cursive, yellowed paper, addressed to my uncle, but unsigned. No return address. Just one sentence repeated 4 times. Don't open the door again. That word stuck with me. Again. The letter was dated 1994. I was 5 years old that year. I went back to the kitchen, stared out the window at the field. I couldn't see the cellar from here, but I could feel it. Like the earth had a heartbeat, and I'd learned its rhythm. I thought about calling someone, a friend, the cops, but I didn't. What would I say? I inherited a house, and now the dirt knocks back? They'd send someone with paperwork, or worse, medication. I figured I could wait it out. Maybe a few more nights, let it pass. Maybe it wasn't about me. Maybe it was just leftover noise. Echoes of a man who'd lived here too long and died too quiet. But then I saw it, just past the fence, standing at the edge of the pasture, a shape, thin, barefoot, watching the house, not moving, not waving, just waiting. I turned away from the window, closed the curtain, didn't look back, and the knocking came again from the kitchen wall. One knock, then two. The next morning I brought a hammer and a box of nails out to the field. The sky was gray. The fog hadn't lifted. The cellar door was just where I left it. Flat, weathered, still nailed shooter, so I thought. I got closer. Stopped 3 steps short. One of the nails was gone. Not pulled. Gone. The hole it left was empty. Clean. Like it had never been there. I dropped to a knee. Touched the wood. Cold. Damp. Not from rain. From breath. I pressed down gently. It flexed beneath my hand. I felt something shift beneath it. Not air. Weight. I stood fast. Backed away. The wind moved. The grass flattened around the door in a perfect circle, like something was breathing just below. I didn't open it. I wasn't that stupid, but I put the new nails in, redrove the old ones, all 8. Then I added 4 more, crossed 2x4s over the frame, staked them in deep. Then I poured salt in a ring around the whole thing. I don't know why. Old instinct. Something I remembered from my grandmother's stories. She always said you can't bury something that isn't done moving. I walked back to the house without looking behind me. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even sit down. I stayed by the window with the light off, watching the field. The door didn't move. But I saw the grass shift again. The circle widened, like something was dragging its hands along the inside. Just before dawn, I heard something on the porch. A soft thud. I turned on the light. Nothing outside, but something was under the welcome mat. I lifted it, found one of the nails, the same kind I used to seal the cellar, bent, cracked, and wet. I threw it in the trash, then took the whole bag to the fire pit and burned it. Smoke smelled like metal and skin. I walked the house again. Every room, every lock. I added more, screws, braces, wood planks across the inside of the windows. The neighbors, if there were any, didn't check on me. No cars passed. No planes, no mail. Just the house and the door and the silence between them. On the 5th night, the knocking changed. It didn't come from the field anymore. It came from inside the house. Started slow. Always 3 knocks. Sometimes from the floor, sometimes the walls, then from the attic, then the closet. I checked each time, nothing there. But things were different. Subtle things. Lights left on that I knew I turned off. Doors ajar. The smell of earth where there shouldn't be. And sometimes the sound of breathing, just beneath the hum of the fridge, just behind the walls. I started leaving notes for myself, little reminders, what I'd touched, what I'd opened, what I'd locked. I'd find them crumpled the next day, or rewritten. Why are you lying? You opened it. She's already out. I stopped writing after the seventh night. I started seeing footprints in the kitchen. Muddy, bare, too small to be mine, too deep to be old. The cellar was still sealed. I checked it every morning, but the nails were rusting fast. Too fast. One snapped when I touched it. The wood was wet again. Not rain, not dew. Wet from underneath, like something had been pressing against it, licking it. I stopped eating, couldn't keep anything down. The mirror in the bathroom wouldn't reflect me after midnight. It showed the hallway instead, and sometimes I'd catch movement. My shape, but not. Too thin, too still. I tried to record it, put my phone on a tripod, left it facing the cellar from the upstairs window. In the morning, the file was gone. The phone was full of dirt, like it had been buried. The knocks were constant now, soft, polite, from every room. Sometimes at the same time, sometimes not. But always three, always waiting, like a rhythm, like it was teaching me something. The basement door under the house had started swelling. I hadn't opened it yet, but the wood was warping, expanding, like it didn't want to be closed anymore. That's when I smelled it, the rot, thick, sweet, like meat gone wet. It came from under the stairs. I pried off the paneling, found nothing but black soil, and a single photograph, folded wet, of me as a boy, standing beside the root cellar, smiling. I hadn't opened the basement door since I arrived, not because I forgot it, because I knew the moment I did, the shape of the house would change. And it did. I waited until morning, sun up, lights on, hammer in hand. I unlatched the bolt. The door stuck, swollen with damp. The smell hit me before I got it open. Not rot this time, not mold, just dirt, fresh, wet, like the earth had been turned. I clicked on the light, nothing. The bulb had burned out, or maybe something had unscrewed it. I brought a flashlight, the kind with new batteries. The beam was weak, already dimming. I stepped onto the stairs. One creaked, then another. The air was colder with every step. Not natural cold, intentional cold. A warning. Halfway down, I stopped breathing. Not out of fear. I had to stop. The air was too thick. I could taste it. Wet soil and rusted metal. I reached the bottom, shined the light around. The basement was bigger than it should have been, deeper. The walls curved, not square, like the house had shifted underground, or had always been shaped this way and never let anyone notice. There were shelves on every wall, empty jars, all labeled, names, dozens of them, all written in the same hand. I picked one up. My last name was on the label, Harlan. The jar was empty, but the lid was sealed tight. I placed it back. Something shuffled behind the furnace. I swung the flashlight fast. Nothing. But the dirt in the corner was disturbed, like something had recently crawled through or out. I turned to leave. That's when I saw the outline. A trap door, hidden in the corner under a rug. I pulled it back. Same wood as the root cellar. Same iron handle. Same nails. but these were inside. Nailed shut from below, I heard breathing, my own at first, then louder, deeper from beneath the trapdoor, like someone pressed against it, listening. I leaned close, and it whispered, "You came back." I stumbled up the stairs, didn't stop, didn't look back. The house was quiet, too quiet, like it knew I'd seen something I wasn't ready for. The attic hatch was open again. No ladder this time, just darkness above. I shut the basement, locked it, pushed the heaviest shelf I had in front of it, sat on the kitchen floor until the sun set. The knocking didn't come that night, but the house wasn't still. The air pulsed, the walls flexed, the wood beneath me felt warm, not alive, just remembering. Around 2 a.m., I fell asleep. Not because I was tired, because something pulled me under. I dreamed of the cellar, standing open, nails scattered, my name carved fresh. I stood on the edge, looked down. No stairs, no bottom, just a hole full of breathing, and a woman's voice from below. "Tell them I'm still waiting." I woke up choking. Mud on my hands, dirt under my nails. I hadn't gone outside, but my feet were wet. My bed was soaked. I stripped everything, washed the sheets, burned the clothes. When I went outside, the cellar door was untouched, still sealed, but beside it new footprints, small, bare, leading up to the door, then away, in a perfect circle. I followed them. They ended at the edge of the woods, where a second cellar door waited. I never built it. I never saw it before, but it was there. Same wood, same handle, no nails, just open, waiting. I didn't touch it. I turned around, walked straight back to the house, locked everything again, lit candles in every room, not for light, for something older, something buried in memory. I sat in the hallway until the sun came up. Then I checked the mirror. My reflection was gone, but the door behind me was open. The basement door, the one I sealed, and written across the inside in black soil, "She's not in the ground anymore." I didn't go back down to the basement. I should have. I think a braver version of me would have. But I left the door open. I didn't touch it. I just watched it from the kitchen. For hours, nothing came up. Nothing moved. But the air in the house changed. Like it was finally breathing the way it wanted. I started noticing things I hadn't before. Not new things. Old things. Familiar. Like memories I didn't own. The photo in the upstairs hall was different now. Same frame, same angle, but instead of the empty porch, it showed a woman standing in front of the cellar, barefoot, dressed to the ankles, hair covering her face. I didn't remember that picture, but it looked like it had always been there. I tried to take it down. My hand froze. Not fear, not cold, just stillness. Like the air around it didn't want to be disturbed. I left it. That night, I dreamed again. I was younger, maybe 10. Standing in the pasture, a man held my hand. I never saw his face. He pointed at the cellar, said, "She's listening again. Don't step too close." I woke up on the floor of the hallway. The lights were on. My hands were covered in soil. again. But this time so were my knees, like I'd been crawling. There were handprints on the wall leading to the bathroom, small, black smears. When I washed my hands, the water turned red, not blood, clay, rich, earthy sediment, like I'd been digging. But there was no shovel, no hole, just the mirror, and in ither, standing behind me. Still no face, still no eyes, but I could feel her smile. I stopped running water after that, started using bottle jugs. I don't know why. The taps worked fine, but the water always ran warm now, too warm, like it came from someplace deeper. That evening, I explored the attic. Something drew me up. The hatch was closed, but light flickered from the cracks. Candlelight, I opened it, climbed slowly. The air was stale, dust thick, but the space was furnished. A rocking chair, a small table, and the walls covered in writing, names. Hundreds, all hand-scrawled in black charcoal. I found mine near the window. Not fresh, not new, faded, smudged, like someone had written it years ago. I found a journal under the floorboards, wrapped in plastic, pages crumbling, most of it unreadable, but one sentence repeated in the margins again and again. She doesn't knock to get out, she knocks to be remembered. I closed the journal, left it where I found it. When I turned to go, the rocking chair was moving. I didn't stay to watch it stop. That night, the lights in the house stayed on. Every room. I didn't flip a switch, didn't light a match. They just turned on. And at exactly 3 a.m., every door in the house opened by itself, all at once. Not fast, not loud, just gently, like someone checking if I was awake. I didn't move. I sat in the living room with a flashlight and a kitchen knife. I don't know what I thought I'd do with either, but I held them like they meant something. The front door stayed shut, so did the basement. But I could hear her, not walking, not speaking, just shifting. Like cloth being dragged slowly across wood, the temperature dropped. The air thinned. The house grew still again. Then one sound, behind me. A creak, a whisper, a breath. Do you see me yet? I turned. Nothing there. But the mirror over the fireplace was fogged, and in the center, written backward, was one word: stay. I didn't wipe it away. I didn't move for an hour. I sat there as the sun started to rise and the air warmed again. I checked the basement, still open, still empty. I walked back into the kitchen. The photo on the wall had changed again. Now the woman stood at the edge of the pasture, and beside her, a boy, holding her hand. I knew that posture, that haircut. That was me. Maybe 7, maybe 8. I don't remember it. But the photo was old, the edges curled, a date printed in the corner. 1992. My name was written on the back. The house had been mine longer than I knew. I just forgot how many times I'd left. I didn't plan to leave the house. Not at night. Not after what I'd seen. But the voice changed. It stopped whispering in corners. It started calling from the woods. Not loud, not angry, but clear. A woman's voice, gentle, familiar. You left something open. It came around 2:45 a.m., just after the hallway lights flickered and the cellar door creaked without opening. I stood at the back window, staring out at the field. The second cellar was gone again, or hiding. The fog was thick, but the voice cut through it like a thread. I'm still here. I opened the back door. I don't know why. I wasn't sleepwalking. I wasn't possessed. I just needed to hear it closer. I stepped onto the porch, barefoot. The grass was wet, cold. The dirt stuck to my skin like glue. I walked past the fence into the field. The air shifted the second I crossed the post, like a pressure dropped, like entering a room where someone had just stopped screaming. I kept going. The path unfolded ahead of me, not carved, not walked, but shaped. The way deer trails form between trees, I followed it, step by step, into the woods. My flashlight dimmed the deeper I went. The air didn't cool it, got warm, still heavy, like holding your breath underground. Then I saw it, the stone. A single marker in the clearing, no name, no date. Just one word chiseled deep. Her. I stopped, looked around. Fog moved between trees, not wind, just motion, intent. I heard the voice again, closer now. You're the only one who came back, but not the first. Then a second voice, smaller, sharper, a child. Don't listen to her. I turned, no one there. But in the trees, I saw shapes, people, men and women, watching, their faces blurred like old photographs. A man stepped forward. He wore my face, older, thinner. His eyes were black, not evil, just hollow, like he gave something away and never got it back. She only needed one door. I opened it. You just forgot you helped. He pointed at my feet. I looked down. The cellar was beneath me. No grass, no stone, just wood. Iron handle, old nails, not sealed, just closed. I took a step back. The earth creaked. The lid didn't rise, but the breath returned. Hot, wet, rising up from below. The child's voice came again. You said you wouldn't come back. You said you'd never let her out again. Then the man smiled. But she was never out. She was always in the house. And now you are too. I turned and ran. The fog chased me. The trees shifted. The trail bent in the wrong direction. But the house found me. I don't remember reaching the door. I just remember the sound of it slamming shut behind me. The locks clicked themselves into place. The lights turned on. Every bulb, every room. The house breathed deep, satisfied. I fell to the floor. Couldn't move. Couldn't cry. The voice whispered from the mirror. You never really left. You just turned around. I crawled to the kitchen, pulled myself into the chair. My hands were shaking. My feet were bleeding. The welcome mat was gone. The floor beneath it was stained with black mud. The photo in the hallway had changed again. It showed the cellar door, open, a figure climbing out. Not a woman, not a ghost. Me, looking down at the dirt like it was calling me home. I checked the calendar pinned above the phone. A day was circled, not by me, in red ink. the date of my arrival, and beneath it, a note, handwritten. It always begins again when the door closes. If you don't tell someone this time, she'll stay longer. I stared at it for hours until the paper yellowed in front of me, until the ink ran like wet blood, until I heard the voice one last time that night. Tell them how you opened it. The next morning, I tried to leave a record, not for me, for the next one. I knew I wouldn't be the last to stand on that porch. Someone else would come, maybe someone like me, curious, tired, wanting to believe a house could be just a house. So I wrote, not with my phone. I'd stopped using it weeks ago. The battery drained no matter what I did. So I found a legal pad in the den. Yellow, faded, unused. I sat at the kitchen table, pen in hand, and I wrote everything from the moment I got the call, to the voice in the trees, to the photo in the hallway. I didn't stop. I didn't eat. I didn't look away. I wrote through the night. When I was done, my hands were shaking. I left the pad on the kitchen table, placed a mug on top of it. Just enough weight to say, don't ignore this. Then I went upstairs, closed the door, slept for the first time in days, deep. No dreams, no voices, just dark. When I woke up, the house was quiet. I went downstairs. The lights were off, the windows were closed, the pad was gone, not just moved, gone. I searched the counters, the drawers, the trash. Nothing. I checked the fire pit, cold, undisturbed. I checked the mirror. My reflection stared back this time, but it blinked out of sync, like it hadn't finished becoming me. I went outside. No wind, no footprints. But in the dirt under the porch, I saw shredded paper, bits of yellow, torn, curled, chewed, like it had been eaten by something with no teeth. The cellar door was still sealed, but the grass around it had withered. The nails were rusted, bent. The salt ring was scattered. I picked up a handful, rubbed it between my palms. It felt sticky, warm. I walked the perimeter of the house. The second cellar hadn't reappeared, but something else had. A hole in the side of the barn, just wide enough to crawl through. Something had tunneled out from underneath. The boards were split outward, not caved in. I didn't go inside. I stood at the edge and listened. Nothing, just breath. Slow, patient, the kind that waits for you to look away. I nailed the board shut, used every plank I had. The wood groaned when I touched it, like it didn't want to be closed again. That night, the whispers came back, not in words, in rhythm. Threes. Knock, knock, knock. Then silence, then again, every wall, every floorboard, every door, like the house was remembering or reminding me. At 3:33 a.m., the lights shut off, one by one. I lit a candle. The hallway was longer than it had ever been. At the far end, the basement door stood open, not wide, just enough to tempt, just enough to say someone came up. I walked slowly, candle in hand. My footsteps echoed where they never had before. I stepped into the basement. The jars were gone. The shelves were bare, except one, my name. Same jar, now filled with something dark, not liquid, not solid, something that shifted when I breathed. I didn't touch it. I just looked at it, and it pulsed, once, like a heart. The trapdoor in the floor was open. The space beneath it was deeper than it should have been, blacker than the dark. I knelt at the edge. Something whispered from below, "She's not a ghost. She's a house without a door. You let her walk again." I closed the hatch, sealed it, stacked bricks on top, not because I thought it would hold her, but because I needed the act. I needed to feel like I could stop it. The next day, I tried writing again, this time on the walls. Big, black ink. Stay out. Do not enter. She's still here. The next morning, every wall was clean, white, repainted while I slept, or while I watched. One mirror remained fog. The message there never changed. You're only the door. She's the one who knocks. I started carving warnings into the underside of furniture, the back of drawers, inside cabinets. Anything I thought might survive. But each time, the message faded. Letters rearranged, turned into nonsense. I carved, "Don't trust the cellar." I came back the next day. It read, "She's hungry." I carved, "Leave before nightfall." The next day, it said, "She knows you're home." I stopped carving. I stopped writing. I stopped speaking out loud. The house didn't need my help anymore. It had already decided who it was saving space for next. I heard the car before I saw it. Gravel crunching. Engine low. Doors didn't usually make sound on that road. It was too far from anything, too buried. But I heard this one. Loud, real. I looked out the window. A silver sedan, dust-covered, parked at the bottom of the drive. A man stepped out, mid-30s. Plaid shirt, backpack over one shoulder. He looked up at the house like he'd seen it before. He didn't knock, just walked up the steps. I met him at the door. My hands were already shaking. He smiled like we'd met. "You must be him, the one from the will." I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. He held out a letter, red envelope, no return address. The wax seal had already been broken. "I got this a few days ago." Said the house was mine now. Said someone would be waiting. I asked his name. He said Harlan. Same last name as mine. I should have remembered that. But I didn't. Not right away. He asked if he could come in. I hesitated, but the house didn't. The door opened before I touched the knob. I stepped aside. He walked past me. Into the living room. Looked around like he was checking a memory. Looks just like she described. I asked who. He paused. My mom. She said this house belonged to the family a long time ago, that we weren't supposed to come back. But then the letter came. Said the debt was settled. Said it was safe again. The house groaned. Soft. Pleased. Like it liked that answer. I asked if he knew about the cellar. He froze. Just a second. Then shook his head. What cellar? I led him to the back window. Pointed through the glass. The field was empty. No door, no nails. Just grass. Unbroken, untouched. He looked confused. There's nothing there. You okay? I nodded. But inside, I felt something shift. I remembered the door. I remembered the knocking. But now it was fading, like a bad dream retreating behind the day. I asked how long he planned to stay. Just a night or two. I wanted to see it for myself. Maybe take a few pictures, pass it down. I told him to be careful. He laughed. Of what? The ghosts? The lights in the kitchen flickered. I smiled, forced. Told him which bedroom to use. He chose the guest room, same one I'd used. He dropped his bag on the bed, looked around. Feels like somebody's still living here. You been keeping it up? I didn't answer. I didn't remember. He unpacked, plugged in his phone, said he had no signal. I told him that was normal. He didn't seem bothered. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the hallway, staring at his door, listening. Around 10 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not his. Too light, too slow. The door didn't open, but the shadow passed across the bottom. Thin legs, bare feet, a woman's silhouette. I closed my eyes, didn't open them again until dawn. When I woke, he was already up, cooking eggs, smiling, humming, something I didn't recognize. I sat at the table, asked how he slept, better than I have in years. It's weird. I thought this place would be heavier, but it feels peaceful. I nodded, tried to remember why that scared me. The photo on the hallway wall had changed again. Now it showed the two of us, sitting on the porch, smiling. The date on the bottom said 1997. I didn't remember taking it, but my name was on the back. His too. The same handwriting, the same red ink. I checked the mirror in the living room. We were both in it, but our reflections blinked at different times. I asked if he planned to leave soon. He looked at me strange. Leave? This is my house now. Why would I leave? I turned away. The walls were breathing, slow, deep, like the house was sleeping or feeding. I walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer where I'd hidden the matches. Gone. All of them. Every last stick. I checked the journal in the attic. Blank. The names on the walls were gone. Scrubbed clean. The chair still rocked, a little faster now, a little closer to the hatch. I looked down at my arms, dirt under my nails, red smudges on my sleeves. I didn't remember digging. I didn't remember sleeping. But the calendar on the fridge had circled tomorrow's date, and next to it, someone had written in black marker, his turn. Leave the door unlocked. I spent the morning watching him, quietly. From the hallway, from the mirror, the light in the house had shifted. Everything looked cleaner, brighter. He walked like he belonged here, like he'd always belonged, like the house had been waiting for him and finally got what it wanted. I didn't know what that made me. I started forgetting things, little things at first. Where I put the spare key, what day it was, how long I'd been here, then bigger things. When I'd arrived, what the letter said, my own handwriting, my name. I checked my license. It looked wrong. Not the name, the face. Too young, too old, too pale. I asked him again what he was doing here. He looked at me with a smile, like I should already know. You asked me to come. You said it was time to switch. I didn't remember that, but the house did. The walls hummed when he spoke, the lights steadied. He walked the property like a man measuring a dream. Took notes, drew sketches, hummed to himself. The field was empty again. No door, no grass circle. But the dirt under my fingernails never stayed clean. I scrubbed them raw, still black. I woke up with mud in my sheets, woke up outside once, in the barn, curled in the corner, like something had nested there. I tried to pack my things, couldn't find my bag. My clothes weren't mine anymore. Shirts I didn't recognize, stains I didn't make. The guest book by the door had two names, one in black, one in red. Mine was in red. It was crossed out. The next night the house asked, not in words, not out loud, but I felt it, the offer. Stay and forget. Leave and take her with me. She couldn't be locked down again, not by nails, not by salt. The next heir had already arrived. The cycle was fulfilled. But the house wasn't full. She still needed to be carried. She needed eyes and hands and a voice. She needed someone to open doors. I didn't want to say yes, but I couldn't say no. The walls pulsed when I hesitated. The attic stairs unfolded on their own. The basement door opened slowly. The lights went out room by room, until only the hallway was lit. He stood at the far end, the man, the new one, holding a candle, smiling. It's okay. You already chose. I didn't remember choosing, but my feet started moving down the hall, past the mirror, past the calendar, past the photo that now showed only him, alone, smiling, standing beside a door I didn't recognize. When I reached the front door, it was open. Night outside, fog. I turned back once. The house pulsed again, and I heard her say it. If you leave, you take me with you. If you stay, you become the floor. I stepped outside. The door closed behind me. No wind, no sound, just the taste of dirt in the back of my throat. I walked to the car that wasn't mine. Key in the ignition. Engine started without me. Gas tank full. Headlights already on. I drove. Roads I didn't recognize. Towns that didn't see me pass. I looked in the mirror. My face, but too still. My eyes blinked slower. My breath fogged the glass, even when the air was warm. I stopped at a gas station, bought water, bought food. The clerk smiled at me, said, "You smell like dirt." I said nothing, drove until the sun came up. The house didn't follow, but her voice did, in the static on the radio, in the wind through the windows, in the knock at the back of my head when I tried to sleep. Open the next one. Leave the door cracked. Someone else will come. I found a motel. Paid cash. No ID. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the mirror. My reflection blinked. This time it smiled before I did. There was a letter on the nightstand, red envelope, no stamp, wax seal already broken. Inside was a name I didn't know. A new one. The next. The final line read, "Make sure they find the cellar." I thought I could run. Thought I could drive until the road stopped, until the air changed. But she came with me, not in the mirror, not in the back seat, in my breath, in my bones, in the weight behind my eyes when I closed them. She didn't follow me. I brought her. That's what the house does. It doesn't trap you. It empties you out. So there's room for her. I kept moving. Gas stations, motels, sleep when I could, but the knock followed. Not from outside anymore, from inside the walls. 3 taps, always at 3:33. No matter the clock, no matter the place. The first time I heard it in a stranger's house, I was 6 states away. I'd stopped for a meal. Old couple, kind, told me to come in out of the rain. Said I looked tired. I was. They gave me soup. Let me shower. I smiled. Said thank you. But when I dried off, I saw her in the mirror again. She traced the glass with one finger, wrote a message backwards. The door's in the pantry. I didn't open it. Not that night. But the next morning, the old man said the door was stuck. Asked me to help. I pulled it open, and there it was. Same wood, same hinges, no stairs, just a dark rectangle in the floor. He didn't see it. He thanked me. Said it was just storage. Said he'd grab his tools. I shut it before he came back. Didn't tell him. Didn't warn him. What would I even say? You're housing something older than memory? You're standing on her lungs? I left before they made breakfast. Slept in the car. Dreamed of nails, bent, rusted, falling from the sky like ash. I started seeing the signs more often. Mirrors that held breath longer than they should. Dirt collecting beneath beds that hadn't been walked on. Scratches inside. Closets. Not outside, inside. Like something wanted out, but was waiting for me. She speaks clearly now. Not in riddles, not in warnings, in instructions. This is how you knock. This is how you leave it open just enough. This is how they find her. I fought it at first. I stayed in my room, didn't speak, didn't write, but she didn't need my hands. She just needed the space I gave her. The silence I filled. I checked into a cheap motel near a highway. Red carpeting, stained wallpaper. I saw the spot before I even opened the door. A square on the floor where the carpet was cut clean. I asked the front desk what it was. He shrugged. Old trap door. Don't use it. Locked from the inside. I didn't reply. That night, the knocking came from beneath the bed. I didn't move. I didn't answer. But I knew what it meant. The room already belonged to her. I was just the last piece. I left at sunrise. And every place I've stayed since has something missing. Not big things, small things. The sound of breath where there's no one. A handprint on the mirror that doesn't fit mine. A drawer that only opens when the lights are off. She's not hiding. She's preparing. I've seen others. Like me, in gas station bathrooms, rest stops, quiet diners. They flinch at knocks. They avoid mirrors. They whisper to their coffee. They know her too. One man saw the scar on my hand, reached across the counter, said, "You opened it too?" I didn't have to answer. We both already knew. He gave me a piece of paper. No words, just a drawn door, a perfect square, a symbol scratched above it, a spiral. That night, I saw it again, not in dreams. On the wall of the motel, carved behind the headboard, that spiral, turning in on itself, pulling me in. She whispered again, louder this time. You don't have to live in the house. You are the house. You are the cellar now. I haven't slept since. Not really. Not without dreaming of walls closing, doors breathing, a hand pressing gently on the inside of my skin. I don't know how long I've been gone. I don't know how many places I've touched. But I know this. She doesn't knock to enter. She knocks to let you know it's your turn to carry her, to make space, to leave the next door open. And she always whispers the same thing when I pass a town too quiet, a building too old, a house that feels like it's watching. This one's ready. I never planned to go back, not because I was scared, because I didn't think the house would still be there. Some part of me believed it would rot away without me, collapse, fade back into the field, but it didn't. One night, I saw the envelope again. Red. No name. No stamp. Just sitting in the center of the motel room, I opened it. Inside was a photo. A boy, barefoot, standing by the cellar, holding a nail, my face, my shirt, a photo I'd never seen. And on the back, 5 words. It's your turn to knock. I drove without checking a map. The road unfolded the way I remembered. Long, dead quiet, trees leaning in like they knew my name. The gravel on the drive was fresher than it should have been. The house stood clean. Curtains in the windows. Porch swept. Someone had been keeping it. Someone who thought it was theirs. I got out of the car. The wind stopped. Every sound dropped. Like the earth wanted to hear what I'd do next. I stepped up to the door. It opened before I touched it. The man inside looked like me, younger, healthier, smiling like I once did. You made it. I've been waiting. He stepped aside. Let me in. The house was warm, lights on, photos hung, furniture arranged differently. It felt lived in, but not settled. He poured me tea, sat across from me like we were catching up after years apart. It's easier when someone shows you. I didn't have that. I asked how long he'd been here. He didn't know. Time's weird in the house. It moves if you don't look at it. He slid a notebook across the table. Names? Dozens. All crossed out, except mine, my real one. Not the one she calls me. Not the one I started using to stay hidden. He tapped the page. She wants to rest now. She thinks you can hold her better. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I felt her in the walls, her breath in the beams, her pulse in the pipes. She was listening, and she was waiting. I stood, walked the hallway. Every photo showed me different ages, different decades, but always there, always beside the cellar. The last frame was empty, just a blank space ready to be filled. I climbed the stairs to the attic. The chair was still rocking, still warm. I sat. The walls whispered. The names reappeared in charcoal. Everyone I'd seen before, everyone I'd forgotten, they spelled something now. Not a sentence. A shape. A door with no frame. A knock with no hand. I closed my eyes. She spoke one last time. Not angry, not urgent, not even a whisper. Just a breath against my ear. Thank you for making space. When I came back down, the man was gone. The front door wide open. Wind in the curtains. I stood on the porch. watched him walk down the path. Same bag I arrived with, same shoes, same look in his eyes. I didn't stop him. I couldn't. The house wouldn't let me. The door shut behind me, locked itself, lights dimmed, air held still, and I finally sat at the kitchen table again. Alone. Hers. I don't know how long I'll stay. Maybe forever. Maybe until the next name is mailed. Maybe until someone knocks 3 times on a motel wall and asks if I've ever been to Larchmont. But I'll know when it's time. I always do now. I'll know because the house will start breathing again, and the cellar door will crack, just enough to let something out. And I'll walk to the edge of the field, lay a nail on the wood, and whisper back, "You're home now." Then I'll wait by the mirror until the next face starts to look like mine,